commemoration of the International Women's Day, which is almost going to be all through the month of March. I mean, we know how women do their things. Let's talk on young women specifically and gender equality. Gender equality is about creating a society where both young men and young women have equal opportunities, respect, and support. You know what? Too often when these discussions are being brought on, it often focuses on one side, which is the female gender. But today we are looking at how young men and women can work together for fairness and inclusivity. What role do young men play in empowering young girls, and how does gender equality benefit both? Well, you're in for it, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today on Youth Hub, we'll hear from a male perspective. You know, sometimes when we talk about Women's Day, we just have a bunch of women talking about women. We need to also hear from the male perspective. We need to also make the men understand. They also need to make us understand how they can help us in our contemporary societies, how they can be allies, how they can challenge harmful stereotypes and build a more inclusive society. To join us on the conversation today is His Royal Highness Prince Godswill Edward, who's in fact deeply rooted in culture, a philanthropist, as well as a youth advocate. Welcome, Mr. Godswill. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here this hour.
I hope it wasn't too, hard to find Youth Hub.
No,
it was just a one way.
I just checked Google and I could find the location.
Oh my God,
so
you guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to the program. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Youth Hub continues shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. I am Hosanna Crawford, and this is Youth Hub. So let's talk about the role young men play in helping gender equality. You know, oftentimes when we hear gender equality, it just goes quick, okay, competing with the male gender, or this, that. It's not all about that. We are dropping all of that. We are burying the hatchets today. So today we're going to talk about fairness for both young men and young women. You know, we should live in a society where young men empower young girls and they both coexist. We are not fighting, we are not taking anybody's rights. We are just trying to make sure that if we have 195 senators, at least 300 should be women. Is it not so? Thank you for joining us on Youth Hub today. Now let's talk about gender equality. When you just hear the word gender equality, what comes to your mind? What does it mean to you as a person, and coming from a male perspective?
You know, we all know that gender equality is about peaceful, coexistence between the male and female, equal opportunities, equal rights, fairness, justice, equal privileges, and how can men and women have respect for one another. What are those rights of a woman? And how can we cohabit with women in our society without intimidating them, allowing them to have a voice, allowing them to express themselves, allowing them to become drivers of society, as a co-drivers, and we all know that over the years there have been strong advocacy and voices for women, for the girl child, for women who have been deprived from their position, or who have been deprived based on the fact that they are women in playing some certain roles, and also for their consistency in continuing to showcase that they are also humans and their voice must be heard. So for some of us, we believe in gender equality. We believe that women must be given fairness, must be given that true expression, for them to be able to showcase their own potentials too. So I align 100% and with women, and I believe that what is good for the men is also good for the women, and we can all live together in peace and harmony.
So do you really believe in this gender equality thing?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think it should be a thing in the society?
It should be a thing. It's a problem that must be tackled, not just by listening to the outcry of women's voices, but even in silence, even without women making statements or saying anything. I think that even from their environment, and that's why, I feel that as men, we shouldn't just, talk about it and discuss and end there. We should be more intentional in, even when women are not voicing out, let's get to know what are their challenges, what are those things that bothers them. If you have a woman in your environment, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your wife, whether it's your sister, whether it's your friend or colleague or staff, women are people who are most time people don't know, might not be very expressional, and because they're also very sentimental and careful about how they approach their rights and all. So as a man, you must have conversations to know what is bothering them, what are their challenges, what can they do better. For every time there's a problem, do not just believe that only a man can solve that problem. Most times, the women who are silent, who are very observant about society too, might have some certain contributions to make to society. So it's always very important to hear them out. You ask questions, know about their well-being, know about their suggestions, know about what can they do differently, and get involved in their personal lives, because most times they can only voice out when they find the right environment. Most of them might be going through, domestic violence. Most of them might have their own personal issues and no one to communicate to, and so they are drawn to they are very reserved and drawn into their inner shell. So as a man, you're not just supposed to be the provider or supposed to be the protector of women, but also enabling them to be able to express themselves and give them that environment to air out whatever it is that is bothering them.
Okay, so basically, young female adults, we have lots of challenges going on in the society today. It's either you have to dress all covered up, and even when you're dressed all covered up, you really cannot tell what's going to happen out there. So what are the biggest challenges young girls face in the society today?
I believe that most of the challenges of the girl child, especially the young girl in society today, is the inability to express themselves and the right mentorship. When you see what's going on the social space now, you realize that most of them have lost their values, not because they have better alternative. So we must instill value on the girl child, give them confidence, and, a lot of love. Most girls these days, you see on social media and the things they do in content, you realize that most of them lack sense of belonging, and that's why the gender equality is something that must be advocated across all sectors and board, because I feel that the women are shying away, is affecting the girl child based on their home bringing. Most of them have seen where their mothers don't have a voice in their home. They have seen that even them themselves from growing up do not have a voice at home. It begins to affect them, begins to make them to be more withdrawn, not paying attention to their personal passions and purpose in life. So I feel that what the girl child needs now is sensitization, orientation, love. We need to continue to instill values on the girl child to know who they are, know that they can do it, their worth, and listen to them. When there's communication, when there's mentorship, when there's constant interaction with the girl child, making them understand that their voice can be heard and that they can express themselves, not shutting them down and limiting them, with the right guidance from those who have been through, and with the right environment to accept girl child, they can express themselves and they can see themselves as equal. They have equal opportunities with the male children, and they can also be educated, and that they also have their role to play in fostering development, peace, and unity of society. When the girl child knows that she's more than just, the girl, and that what she's naturally endowed with is not enough. She needs to be intelligent, she needs to be educated, she needs to be a voice for the voiceless, because most of them, when you look at things going on, you realize that value is very important in building the narrative.
Okay, now, don't you think women are being taught a lot of instill this, instill that, don't do this, don't do that? Don't you think the younger men, the men who are growing up, fathers and mothers, need to also inculcate and intimate them on how to treat young women?
It's the same thing I'm talking about. When I think I should have made it a general conversation, because when we talk about gender equality, most time people think it's about the women. No,
exactly.
It's about both gender. Whatever affects the female gender affects the male gender. And for us to first of all have equality is to focus conversation on young people. What kind of caliber of youths are we building in society? When you focus that conversation, you realize that it's become equal. But when you constantly, put the women, the girl child, and not build a conversation on what kind of young people do we want to build in society, we must instill mentorship, like I said, value system. They must know how to respect one another, how to treat a woman. A man, a young child must be taught from his home, because what they do in the days of past.
Emphasis on how to treat a woman, please.
Yeah. When a child, comes into a society, the first mentorship and the first place of education is family. So
Of course.
both the boy and the girl child watch how both parents, both mother
And
and
father
father treats
behave.
one
Yeah.
another. They begin to learn, and then even the churches, the mosques, the place of worship we go to, they see how they're also being treated. And then they go to school, they see, this thing boils down from family background and society. And I believe that the best we must do as parents is to know that once you have children coming in, and most times not just about your children, you have neighbors, you live in an environment. Some people choose to make their neighbors their role models even more than their parents. People learn
Yeah.
from different perspectives. So there must be that instilled nature on young people, on how to cohabit, on how to respect boundaries, on how to respect one another. The man must learn how to know from child how to treat, even from his sister at home, how to treat the mom. As a young man, it doesn't really matter if she's your mother. You must know that a woman, you must help to carry her bag if you can. Open doors for your mom, your sister, your friend, your wife, your neighbor. Learn to make yourself available at every point in time to do some certain things, jobs that men can do, and not allow. You can't live in an environment and you see a lady who lives beside you as a man carrying things heavier than them. What you know that you will not let your daughter or your sister go through, or your wife. You must learn to treat girl child with respect. And then that when you begin to teach young people that, even most times the best way of teaching people and the best act of service is when you create the environment where people can watch the right mentality, and I think that as a young man in society, it doesn't matter, you must know. And most people, you see some certain young people who are quick to raise their voices, who are quick to hit ladies around.
Yes.
It's based on how they were treated. Your voice, no matter how loud your voice is, you can be very calm and gentle and command more respect. You can be very very loyal and command more respect. You don't need to be physical. You don't need to raise your voices. You need to know that the girl child and women are very soft and subtle. You need to also understand that they talk too much, so you must not get
Are you being real right now?
Not get sentimental if they cross lines. You must
Okay.
stay calm and stay coordinated. I feel this conversation we're having is a very strategic one, and something that should continue to be spoken about. It's good to get the men to speak, because it's very important for us. The only way we can mold and remodel society is when we begin to pay attention to details, and some certain things are very important. How do we raise our children? What do we instill on our children? What level of orientation do we give to our children? A lot of young people and people you see as leaders today who you think are gentle are not gentle, because they were not inculcated and instilled. There were some values that were not instilled in them growing up. So the growing up stage of every child is very important.
Now, talk about raising children. Are you aware that some children, let's not say just female children, both of them, but let's talk majorly about young men, being that that's our topic, young men and how they treat gender equality. Are you aware that some of them have the best upbringing, have good dads, not just men that want to be husbands? There's a difference between having a man who is a good husband and a good father. Some men are good fathers and not good husbands. Some are good husbands and not good fathers. So now let's talk about the one who are good fathers. They have raised these children well, but somehow along the line, due to peer pressure, due to lots of things, you see them deviate and start doing very holistic things in the society.
You see, a lot of young people grow up and begin to experience life when they grow up.
Okay.
I feel that it's important, like I said, that you pay attention to your child. A lot of these young men, like you said, were fantastically...
What if they get to the age where they don't listen to their parents anymore? They're now independent.
Fantastically raised, given the best, but growing up out of the family and beginning to experience life where you meet your peer group, some of them start, being treated in a very ill way by both gender. Some of them get heartbroken. Some of them get into relationships and do not understand. Probably were not taught on
About relationship, yeah, and how
relationships,
to
about
go about
boundaries,
it.
about how to go up. So they experience life firsthand and begin to realize that there's more. There's a lot of psychological, and from the part of the world we come from, where there is not too much of an environment where people can either find someone to talk to. Therapy. We need to. A lot of young people need therapy. Where some of them are broken, some of them are broken from their home. Some of them
Yes.
are broken from society. Some of them do not have the right mindset. They are not firm. Maybe me and you or any other person out there might go through situations and treat them in a very calm way. There's some certain people that might not even go through situations, but by watching others go through situations breaks them. So they get broken by different sentiments. So the best thing to do is to continue to speak to them. Then we must continue to orientate, continue to teach, continue to instill, and continue to help them by guiding them, by speaking to them, using all level of platforms, by making them know as young men the rights of women, what women must do, or how women should be treated in society. And when they're talking about women, it mustn't be women that are naturally close to you as relatives or family.
Generally, women
You
in
don't-
general.
You don't see a lady out
Young
there,
girls, daughters,
young girls,
and just
you
say,
don't
okay,
see-
no, she's not my sister.
and then treat
I
them
cannot
bad.
cater
We
to
must
this.
look out for them, and also women too. We must not know how to trigger men. We must know how to treat men like kings. It mustn't be your husband or your brother. They say, do unto others what you want others.
He
to
said
do unto
he said king. I think
Yeah.
because he has a blue blood running in his veins.
When we talk about a lot of people, were not born with the blue blood, but
Okay.
have demonstrated more of it. Like for me, instilling character and virtue and grooming and most of the things I know today, first is from my family and my background. But self-development is key. There are challenges going on there. I see too many things that are very fearful on the social space, and a lot of time
Feels like the social space is just literally a lot these
a lot
days.
of time, a lot, and we're not doing anything to address that social space. We should never forget the rise of civilization and technology. These things will happen every generation. There are changes and switches to things.
Of
So we
course.
must tackle. Now everybody's glued to the social space. So what are we doing to change that narrative in the social space where we can raise up conversations? You see, valuable conversations are not followed. But crazy things that are very absurd, you see 1 million, 2,300 followers. So I think that we must find the way to tackle by creating the right content, by putting on their faces the right value system that every child, whether a boy or a girl, should go through in society. We have seen where people, just little anger, have found themselves in jail. All the dreams are gone
Yes.
because you beat your woman, killed her, you hit on someone, whether it's a relationship.
And most
or-
of them
you
never
don't-
meant it that way. They didn't
they
even
never
see it
meant
happen.
Most of them
They
are
didn't
very
know it
good
was going
people,
to.
but they are
Yes.
triggered. So we must teach our children not to trigger people. We must
People,
teach our
yes.
children what anger can do. There's a lot of virtues. We must create the right content and conversations and narrative that buttresses on society, the challenges of society, and how we can tackle those challenges. And you're doing the right. You guys are doing great using such platform to raise such topical issues. But it must not end here. Even in our school, our children, as they go to school, they go to meet different kinds of people. They can
with
learn from
different
anywhere. I tell people that the
upbringing.
parents have just a few percentage of values to instill on their children. Or
The
for
academic
example,
centers
the
have a
academic
lot to
centers, the
environment
worship,
of friends,
religious
worship places.
environments, the things they see online and all of that, but they are exposed to. But when you create the right environment and value system for your child, no matter where your child is exposed to, there are words that my
They have
father
decorum,
put
yes,
in
around
me
them.
that has sunk into my system till this very day. It sinks deep. So there are some strong words. We should never be scared of speaking to our children, of instilling values. My dad tells me a good name is better than riches. He didn't just tell me that, it was part of our art piece in my parlor, remember? So every time I see that, yes, good name is better than riches. He taught me the value of protecting my self-esteem, building my character, and showing that I have goodwill. So we must also raise children with strong ideals and strong words, because when those children are exposed to society, no matter the circumstances, they will not forget where they're coming from. And also society too must know where we are. These challenges are becoming. Just this morning, before I came in here on Facebook, I saw a man who just 8 months into marriage. I saw a video of a dead woman. domestic violence. So these things are every day and everywhere. We must begin to tackle them by putting the right content, the right information. Everybody must rise up and let's
All
put our
hands
voice
must be on
together.
deck.
Not
All
in a way
hands be on
of
deck.
fighting one another. I see extremists who are gender sensitive from women, feminism and all of that. No, we must curtail these things with the right approach. A man has a duty. The masculinity of a man, shouldn't stop a woman too from expressing herself because she doesn't have those muscles. And also, so there must be some level of rest. Women have a whole lot to offer society. I'm a very strong advocate for women involvement in politics, in governance and everything. Women must be given an opportunity, equal fairness. I've worked with a lot of women around me in my life. There are people who believe in dreams. There are people you must tolerate. Not everybody has the ability to tolerate them. Most times, it's also risky when you have because the women can do anything. But at the same time, they are amazing people that must be supported. And if they constantly see themselves that they are striving, they will put in more energy until even when negative energy comes in beer. But when they know that they are welcomed in every society, when they know that they have a place, when they know that they are protected, when a woman walks into an environment and sees 10 men and she's the only one and she feels safer. I'm giving you an instance. And she feels safer. There's an approach at which she will come. So we must begin to create more safe zones and more safe environments for the girl child and for our women, so that they do not grow up with too much of energy and thinking that they have a battle to fight. We must make them feel welcomed, because so many women are very, there's that natural tendency of being extremely careful, and sometimes it builds very resistant energy without them knowing it, because it's what have been inculcated. Be careful.
And
Some
what
of
has
them
been
have been told
happening.
what have been happening. Yes, some boys are dangerous, you must be careful with people, but some are angels. So but we need to create more discussions and more environment to make women feel safe. And even men. Some men also have been molested growing up. It has affected their mentality. Some have been heartbroken. Some have seen their parents fighting. There's a whole lot of challenges, but I feel that we have to continue not minding the challenges of society to build on a better society where gender equality is put on the front burner of every conversation, and men begin to know their roles and know that their role is very important in modeling and building these women. Whether she's your wife, your sister, or a stranger on the street, you must treat her as a lady. You must be respectful towards how you, and know your boundaries and how you talk to her. And also women must not treat every other young man out there you meet on the street because of your past experience. Learn to heal. There must be a time to heal, and even if you're careful, don't feel that everyone is the same. We must create sense of belonging. There must be that, that natural environment where we are able to understand and know that we cannot do to others what others have done to us. We must do to others what is better. Whatever treatment you got that is not fair, be the fair one. When you are the fair one, fairness flows, and fairness begins to breed more fairness. Maybe you've been through circumstances and challenges, and maybe it's also in your opportunity. You were treated the way you never liked. So show people the best way to treat the next person.
All right, before we take a quick break, let's have this one session. Let's move away from the whole inculcating this, inculcating that. Usually in many professions, young women are underrepresented in leadership roles and several other kind of, businesses, jobs, and settings. How can young men support their future colleagues or female colleagues in achieving career advancements?
I believe that first thing that must happen is that women must see themselves beyond their physical, achievements and their physical endowments.
But most women do. But can men see
No,
women beyond physical?
I'm coming. I like to
Okay.
take conversations through
All
different
right.
perspectives,
Okay.
so we can arrive.
Let's bring it on then.
I'm a politician, by the grace of God, a Democrat, and I understand the value of, I've been on the forefront of advocating for women participation in politics and governance. Just yesterday, I was addressing a few young ladies and teaching them about everybody, the importance of everyone being involved. And I said, I went for an event and I saw a lot of older women who have been in politics for many years. They still have the energy to follow through. They haven't given up because of the conversations. Most of them are grandmothers that should be at home, but they believe in driving that conversation. And I say, these are the kind of people you should make your role models. These are the kind of people who are resilient. So young ladies need to rise up and begin to put themselves where the role models have changed. These days is about slay, I'm sorry to use the word, not all women. It's about cutting corners as a young lady, but I feel that as a young lady, beyond whatever, physical or spiritual endowments that you're blessed with, the most important thing is creating value and being in that place where you're defining who you want to be. The space is open. We need more women to participate in politics and career. More women should be able to go for those things that their heart desires. It's about resilience. Some people are too sentimental. Some people are too scared. So it's not like men. And then for those who have been able to aspire, you must know that when you aspire for something, it comes with its own challenges. So you must be firm, strong, and build a wall around yourself to know that most times you might be the only one there. They say many are called, few are chosen. For every time there's a calling in any leadership position, you find too many men. But when every time you find the chosen one, there are few women. So when you know that there are only few women who have followed that path, and you are a pace setter, there's a lot you need to do to engineer the acceptability of more women. Don't see yourself as the only one going through that place. You're going through that place, and there's a lot of millions and one silent voices who also want to be a voice. So you are a voice to the voiceless, and you're a voice to those who want to be a voice, giving them that sense of belonging. So they must carry themselves better and aspire for the right norms and the right values, knowing that that path will open up more opportunities for other women, not closing those gaps. And I want young men to support women. I don't believe that there should be a gathering of 10 people and you don't have at least 3 women there.
Why 3 though? What's the ratio 3?
That's why I said at least.
Okay,
at least 3 women there. I feel it should be the other way around. It should be 7 women, and 3 men. If I walk into any environment and there are only men holding meetings, if I don't see 1 or 2 women there, I don't feel comfortable, because women always have the ability to think like mothers, no matter how little they are. They believe in general ideologies. They believe in creating sense of belonging. But at the same time too, we will not keep giving up and giving women an opportunity because 1 or 2 in the past have messed up with those opportunities. I feel that maybe we have not done enough. Let's keep grooming and keep building women for the future. And the future starts now.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and when Youth Hub returns, we'll dive into other conversations on what role young men can play in advocating policies that promote gender equality in our respective communities. Please stay tuned.
Are you ready to join the conversation shaping the future? This is Youth Hub, your go-to TV show where youth ideas and impact collide. Want to tackle the tough questions? We delve deep into the topics that matters: youth empowerment, gender equality, leadership, and mental health. Real stories, real struggles, real situations. And it's not all talk. We make it fun with live challenges, creative contests, and interactive segments. You're not just watching the show, you are part of it. Catch Youth Hub every Thursday at 3 p.m. on Global Television. Be heard, be seen. Youth Hub, fueling dreams, sparkling change, and amplifying your voice.
Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is Youth Hub, bringing you beautiful conversations that please your ears, that tutor you and inspire you, equip you to face the society. So, Mr. Godswill, I'm sorry, I don't want to add the prince too much. I don't want to expose him. I don't want to expose him. Let's just leave it like that. So what role can young men play in advocating for policies that promote gender equalities in our communities? Because we talk about, gender, but in the real sense, these things are not being implemented. Men refuse to change. You still see lots of killings, lots of misogynistic kind of attitudes toward women.
All I can say is that let's move from the place of conversation to action. We must take action, and the best way and best time to take action is now. When I mean action, what do we mean? You look at what the challenges are and begin to solve them. When you don't just sit down in your environment and you're not, when conversations are being made, you just leave them in that conversation. There's actually a problem of gender equality where a lot of women feel embattled or feel, they're in danger, and a lot is going on. And too many women, out of peer group, out of pride, out of out of what would one or two people say, what would society think of them, are going through a lot of violence, a lot of sufferings, and cannot express themselves. So I think that as a man, you must pay attention to women, and no matter how little their challenges, it's easy for you not just to listen to those challenges, but driving that challenge into a conversation and putting an action to it to say, how do we cope some of these things? How do we solve these problems? How do we make them feel safe in our communities? When we mean community, your immediate environment, in your place of work, beyond having your colleagues who are women there. If they are not at work, what are you doing? What is holding them back? There must be that swift action. And why they're coming back late, or coming to work late. Most of them have challenges, and they might not see until. Women are not not all women are very firm in speaking. Most of them can die in silence. So we need men to always watch out for the feminine gender and know what their challenges are. And at the same time too, women also have a whole lot of role to play in modeling young men's thinking towards their advancement and towards who they are. Most men don't feel that women are that trustworthy enough for them to confide in and for them to handle some certain responsibility to their care. So we feel that vice versa, both gender must see themselves that you cannot live in society without a man.
And a man cannot live without a woman too.
It doesn't matter what you've been through in the hands of men, and you cannot live in a society without a woman, no matter what you've been in the hands of women. What A has done to B doesn't mean that B will do to C the same thing. What are you doing differently? How do you change the narrative? And our policy direction, should be towards solving problems and creating sense of belonging, and ensuring that everything you do must be gender sensitive. From whatever tax you're giving, anything you're doing, consider the female gender. If you want to give a tax, if you want to do something, how are women being carried along? You must make sure that in your small group you carry women along in everything you do. That's the action we want to see. And you're not just carrying them along, you're paying attention to their needs, attention to their challenges, attention to their complaints. Always ask for their opinion. Even as a man in your house, even if you have a wife, which
it shouldn't feel like a dictatorship kind of thing.
Anything you say goes for her.
It's domineering. You have to dominate.
Still go back and ask what you think. And even when most times you feel that what they are saying is not that good enough, just give them that, that part to make them feel carried along. We must be very active in that approach to make sure that we think about the other gender in any decision we're taking, whether in our homes, in our institutions, and wherever, in the place of work. For example, most times some bosses will just come and say, oh, all of you must come to work, even on Saturday, even when you're giving roles, you must know that the woman has, beyond the place of work, she has a lot of responsibility in building and molding her home. And most of them might not be married, but they are the ones probably taking care of their parents and doing a whole lot of things that has to do with home. And then even at the place of home too, it's not just women that should clean the house and do all that things. So always support your woman, support your sister beyond. Don't just leave them to do the things that women are meant to do alone. No, support them as a partner, support them as a family. And together, if we continue to be active in such approach, the changes will begin to take place in society. Everybody will feel that sense of belonging and will feel that they are part and parcel of society.
Okay, quickly before we round up, if you could change one thing about how young men and women interact in the society, what would it be?
Respect for one another, equal respect. You must respect one another. I don't believe that, and I don't feel that. I think that both should be calm. We've seen what anger has done. So let's limit too much of quarrels, too much of arguments.
Let's see what more respect can do.
More respect, and then boundaries, setting boundaries. When you set boundaries, and you don't be pushed by the words of a woman, and also for a woman, don't be pushed by the calmness of a man. In that man can be a beast too. So look beyond. Don't get carried away by the things you see. I tell people that power is not seen, power is felt. So don't get attracted by what you see with your eyes or what you hear, and don't get carried away by the figures. The kind of man you want. Focus on being close to men that have the right values. And you can see that most women know that these people are danger, but they are carried away by the things that surrounds the danger, and they get burned. So you must believe in what you feel inside of you, not what you see.
Thank you very much, Prince Gospel. And lastly,
Thank you.
before we wrap up with this interesting conversation, because this conversation is so interesting that we can go beyond the time that we're supposed
There's
to,
no
because
limits to
there's
time.
no limits to what we can
Yeah.
say on this particular topic and episode. So, lastly, before we wrap up, what are some practical ways that we can promote gender equality in our everyday lives? Not just talking about it. What are some little subtle things you can do that can
I want
improve?
every young man who's listening to me today to go out there and check out and reach out to one classmate that's a woman, one colleague, and just ask, how are you today? How are you today doesn't really mean you have to cross boundaries and lines. Just checking on people. And also, women should be receptive. That a man stopped you to say hi doesn't mean, they're coming to because of what you're thinking. Sometimes people care. If we talk about care from both parties, and when the care comes, it becomes a problem. You can also make some certain people to shy away from communicating. And then most times, men feel comfortable to talk to women about their personal challenges, even as friends or family or whatever it is. So if a man comes and opens up to you, please, don't be quick to label him and scrutinize him and expose everything he says to you out of friendship, and go mock at that man and you and your friends too. So I feel that for today, my word, out there is that on your social space, where you interact, always make sure that you put a friendly disposition, and always make sure beyond that friendly disposition, you put respect for any gender, whether it's a male or female. You must have respect for one another. Equality is fairness. Fairness is justice. Let's be fair to one another. It doesn't matter who the person is. That man that you speak low of is a king to another lady. Another man's food is another man's poison. So the greatest way not to infringe on man or human's rights and obligations in society is to respect them. Respect your boundaries, talk to them. You don't know who they are. They might be your driver, but they are the king or queen to their partners.
Some other person
to some
out
other
there.
person. Somebody believes that someone's child. So speak respectfully to people. We have abused one another for too many
Enough.
years with so much
Yes.
of words, with so much of actions, and today we are faced with the effects. The only way to heal is to forgive and to begin to respect whoever you see, whether it's tribe, gender. Place value on people. If you place value on people, you're a cultured person in society. I want to see more young men who are raised with value. And if you do not understand some certain things, I think you should ask, and try to also find out the rights of women. Women actually have rights in society. And one of those rights is, you must fairness, you must respect their boundaries. Nobody wants their boundaries to be, respect the boundaries, talk to them rightly, treat them like the queens that they are. And I feel that, if we continue in such conversation, we'll begin to mold leaders of thoughts, leaders of right, both in both gender, that will see themselves as equal drivers of society. Thank you.
Wow.
And don't, as a woman, sorry to put this,
I was going to say wow already.
do
okay?
not also forget that you too can care for a man.
Of course.
You keep billing and billing and billing and
But
billing.
don't you think this whole life we just came to live for men?
No, you didn't come.
I mean,
These
we
men
leave
go
our
to
fathers and we answer your
encourage
men,
them,
give you
appreciate-
kids that bear
appreciate
your
them.
name.
We're
Come
saying
on. We cater to
appreciate.
men a lot.
I'm saying appreciate men just
Okay.
by saying thank you, by
Oh,
saying well
thank
done.
you, Prince
you know?
Godswill, for coming on Youth
By
Hub.
saying well done, goes a long
Of course, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's culture.
This thing is vice versa. When a woman, I strongly believe in my heart that when a woman is treated right, you don't have to beg her to submit. You just see her do things, and you know that okay, she's being groomed, or let me not use the word groomed. She's around a well-cultured, nurtured, masculine man who dominates in sweetness and not just making everything feel like he's a detector. What I say is how he has to be and all of that. So I think when a man is soft, a woman is soft too. But some men are quick to say, the Bible said, submit, submit. What did the Bible say before the submission?
Might is actually calmness. Might is not strength.
Oh, did
Might-
you hear that?
might
The
is
young men out
calmness.
there,
Yeah.
might is calmness. I mean, there's a lot of takeaways. If you do not learn anything from here, I don't know what you're going to learn. There are lots of takeaways from this beautiful and interesting conversation in line with celebrating women, young girls, ladies out there, everybody, any woman, young girl, we are all the same. And please make sure you try your best to inculcate everything our guest here has said on this topic in your everyday life. Today's discussion has shown that gender equality is not just about, being one-sided. It's about all of us, young men and young women, both face challenges, but together we can break harmful stereotypes, support each other, and create a more equal society. Do not always feel that when one's gender equality comes up, you just feel like, as a man, okay, you're trying to compete with me. No, it is not about competition, but a collaboration. It's about respect, fairness, and ensuring that everyone, regardless of gender, whether female or male, has the opportunity to thrive. I mean, the economy is hard already, the world is hard already. And as we live here today, let's reflect on what role we can play, whether it's picking up against injustice, challenging outdated norms, and simply listening to and learning. Every action counts. Every single action always counts. Change doesn't start with one big movement, it starts with the small choices that we make today. So I challenge you out there, what's one thing you will do differently after today? Let's not just talk about it. Let's live it. This gender equality talk, let's not just talk about gender equality. Let's live in it. Thank you so much for being part of this important conversation. Let's keep the dialogue going and take action where it matters. And to all the beautiful young ladies out there, happy International Women's Day from Youth Hub. Hosanna Crawford. See you next time. Bye for now.